Welcome back to the Frugal Gardener's Garden. We're going to take a little tour today. I wanted to give you a glimpse into what's been going on over the winter and basic vines and vegetable plants that are holdovers to give you kind of an idea of what I have that's semi-permanent. What you're looking at are hops. This is a 3-year-old plant, 3-year-old vine, I should say. The problem with this is I haven't been able to get any hops, just leaves. And the reason is the root ball was pretty much held hostage in a smaller pot. This is a brand new pot. I was able to pick this up for 12 bucks. So I think for the size, I got a bargain out of it. Hopefully now there's enough room and enough nutrients that I'll be able to get some hops out of this and maybe experiment with making some beer. So moving on, I want to show you guys the asparagus. I had asparagus plants from last year and I've added to them. So this is last year. This you can actually see the asparagus coming up. These guys will last for years and years, depending upon who you talk to. In some cases, they've said 15, 20 years. Some people have said, maybe 10 years. I've been adding to my asparagus much out of them the first year. So these guys can grow up to as tall as 5 feet. There are different varieties. So 1, 2, 3, these 4 pots are all asparagus. I have a couple in the ground. You can probably really tell better with these little guys here. They probably look more like asparagus than the bush. You need to have nutrients in these pots. I have another root in the house that I'm going to plant. It needs overnight, and eventually I'm going to add that to these. So by next year, I should have a pretty good asparagus harvest. This was in my basement. This is a potato plant. This is a regular old potato plant. Didn't have anything to do. I don't like throwing potatoes away. And when they start to sprout, people say eyes. When I start to get the eyes, if I have a pot laying around and I have soil, I'll plant it. Those are planted differently. You never fill the pot to the top. As a matter of fact, you only want to soak a couple of inches of soil. And as the plant begins to grow, you mound it. You add more and more and more soil, and you add some nutrients to it. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Make sure you keep it watered. So moving along is what's an interesting story behind these grapes. This grapevine is about 3 or 4 years old. I actually brought this with me when I moved, and I transferred it to this pot. If you look real close, you can see actual grapes growing. I transferred it to this pot. This pot originally had an apple tree in it, which is now planted in my yard, and nothing happened last summer. So I started using it for squash and other things. And late this winter, probably around mid-March, we had a couple of warm days. So I dug out around the base and I added nutrients thinking I was going to use it again. I took all this soil out down here. All this was taken out. Matter of fact, this shouldn't even be here. Just take these up by the roots, that way they won't grow back on you. Took all this out, and I threw in probably a couple of dozen crushed eggshells. I threw in coffee grounds. I threw in all sorts of nutrients in here, thinking I was going to use it again to grow vegetables. Lo and behold, about a month and a half ago, I started to see grapes. So the vine that I thought was dead was actually dormant, and now that's come back, and I should be able to get some nice Concord grapes off of there this summer. So the other plant that is a mainstay in my garden are blueberries. This is my oldest blueberry bush. This bush is 4 years old, and it just took off last summer. This is two separate blueberry bushes. I try to pick up a new bush every year. So basically, you'll see there's berries coming in down here. There's berries coming in up here. Next to that, this is new. These are onions that I just planted the seeds to. If you look real close, you can see here, here, here. It's a little too close right there. Around in here, here, and a couple over here. This little guy is a straggler from last year. This looks like it might be lettuce. I'm not sure. Lettuce or spinach. I'm not sure what this is. I'll just let it go. We'll find out later on. But you have to be patient growing onions. This is going to be at least a 4-month process. So we're early in the growing season. It's just mid-May, so a little patience, that'll be fine. This is a new addition to my grapes. This was actually going to replace the grapevine that I thought that I had lost. I need to do a little maintenance here and get this out of here. But this eventually will be transferred over to the larger vine for pollination purposes. These two guys here are from this year. As a matter of fact, I just picked this one up a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like I'm going to get some blueberries off of this year also. So lots and lots of blueberries, hopefully. I basically went to the supermarket and I just purchased a pack of organic garlic. Now, I do have a indoor garden with organic soil, and that's where I put the majority of my organic garlic, but I had some left over. This was a pot that my neighbor had bought flowers and basically discarded the pot. So why let a good pot go to waste? So I threw a couple of seeds in there and it's doing well. This is my favorite. This is the Meyer lemon tree. It's a dwarf lemon tree. I planted these seeds around July of last year. It's May now, so do the math. It didn't look too good during the winter because it has to stay warm. Obviously, it's from a warm climate. But as soon as the weather changed, bam, it started to come back. I added basically some organic fertilizer to it, and it's a beautiful plant now. I actually had 2 more, but I gave one to my neighbor, and the other 2 didn't make it through the winter. They weren't strong enough. So I planted a few more, and we'll see how those goes, but this one's looking really good. Next to that are my daughter's favorite, radishes. I like radishes because they are quick and easy to grow. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending upon what kind of light and what kind of weather you have. And if you look real close, you can see that there's one already starting to peek out. I'll give it another week and I should be able to harvest those. These 3 here are all potatoes. These did not grow outside. These were all in my indoor garden, in my basement garden. So the same principle applies whether they're sweet potatoes, white potatoes, red potatoes. You want to mound them or hill them. So if you look here, you'll see this is not even full. This is pretty full. So I'm going to add some more soil to this in about a week and pull it up to the top so you get more potatoes. So I have 1, 2, 3 of these, and I have a bin down in the basement with our organic potatoes, and I have another pot on the other side of the garden. Potatoes are easy to grow. People don't like growing them because they're not sexy, they're not exotic. You can buy them from the store, they're pretty cheap. But I like growing my own if I have the pots to do it in. And now that I've freed up a lot of my pots, it's not going to be a problem for me. So we're almost done our tour. I just planted this. There's kind of a funny story behind this. These are ghost peppers. These are the second hottest pepper on what's called the Scoville scale. I don't like hot. And so people say, well, why do you grow these? I grow these because people that I know, family members, friends, they do. So it's not just about me. This is ginger that I just planted. You want that to be about 1 inch under the soil, 2 inches at the most. Keep it moist. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. As I said, I've started putting dates and labeling because I'm not a young man anymore and I want to know what I have in here. This is another experiment. These are cherry seeds. Well, you can't see the seeds, but I harvested these cherries seeds last summer, and I cleaned them off, dried them, put them in the freezer, took them out a few days before I planted them, and basically just let them soak overnight to help them to germinate. I have no idea what's going to happen. There's about 6 or 7 seeds in here, and basically I just need one. For those of you who are new to garden, germinate is basically the process of waking up the seed. It's basically the process of telling the seed it's springtime, it's time to grow, it's time to do your thing. So when you have small little tiny seeds, it's unnecessary. But the larger seed, it basically jump starts the process. It causes the seed to split, and when the seed splits and gets into the soil, and you get those nutrients, then hopefully you'll get cherries. The people who grow the cherries don't want you to do that because, well, it would put them out of business. So at this point, that's the reason why I'm planting so many. I have another dozen or so in the house. So if these don't germinate, I'll just plant some more until I get one that works. And that's all I'm going to need. So from there, if you remember a few minutes ago, I showed you my dwarf lemon tree. These are the exact same seeds that I got, well, from the same seed pack that I use for the tree that you saw that's about, I guess, 8 or 9 months old by now. You probably want to know why I'm using a small pot. These are all repurposed pots. All the black pots you see are pots that I didn't pay for, pots that I had other plants in, or pots that people had given me. So once these seeds come up, then I'm going to have to transplant these into obviously bigger pots. This was a gift. This is one of 3 cherry tomato plants that my neighbor gave me. She bought a pallet, which is a tray of them. She had too many, so she gave me 3. Again, I put those in these pots that were just laying around. I use these season after season until they break down. So the other 2 are right here. So they came from the same pallet. That's about it. I still have a few plants